This video will show how to do the data analysis on the availability report. This report is going to help determine the right size for your battery fleet and see if the battery assets are supporting the operations properly. Looking at the minimum battery availability is what I would do first, and generally we're looking to see if we're running out. So most places are concerned with hitting zero. So these are all the days where at least at some point during the day we hit zero batteries available. I find this very instructive to drill down on these because the patterns can be immediately obvious to the managers of the facility. In this case, right around 2 o'clock, we have a huge number of picks all in a very short period of time. This is a typical pattern of people changing all the batteries at the beginning of shift, causing a very quick rundown of the battery availability, running out. This also can indicate that there might be a line of trucks waiting. Much better to have the guys come in when their battery is fully discharged and spread the load out throughout the day. You'll get more use out of the batteries, less congestion in the battery room. So generally this is a bad pattern. Most places don't like to see this. We can look at the next day, again the same pattern, and we look at the next day, again the same pattern. So we're seeing that happen, and even days we run out. We didn't run out this day, but again, same pattern. So a lot of these, seems like we know what's going on there. So this may not be a question of not having enough batteries. This may be a question of just changing the procedure. Now, this one's interesting in that, well, actually, let me show you on demo site 3 and the pallet pool. This is an example of a pool that isn't running out. So, maybe we get down to 1 available, but again, this pool is also changing all at the same time. And if they weren't doing that, I would predict that, maybe they could get rid of 2 batteries. I wouldn't recommend it in this. This site seems to be about the right size, but in this case, maybe you could get rid of 2 batteries. If this number was, let's say, never getting any lower than 10, maybe 8 batteries could go, and nobody would ever miss them. So you could actually run your facility with less batteries. So clearly getting the usage evened out is a good first step. All right, so we'll go back to this and say, look at the maximum batteries available. What we would expect, okay, is, this is a site, and we can actually see it down here, there's 24 total chargers, right? And here we have 16 available. Here we have 16 available. The most we ever get is 16. So I'd kind of look at one of those days and say, okay, we go up and up and up and up. We hit 16. It never goes any higher. Why not? There's 24 chargers. Why don't I ever see 24 batteries? And, sometimes you won't see the max happening during the week, but I would expect on Saturday or a Sunday maybe. Well, this facility may work on Saturdays and Sundays, but if you would look for a non-busy time, you can see this one. You got a lot of hours here. If there were any batteries attached to chargers during this period, they would have finished charging. So, maybe there's some connectors that are bad and people aren't using certain batteries, or chargers are broken or whatever. And there's some other data we'll see later that will help with that. This one here is going to show how many batteries selected per day. Now, in some cases, what you'll see big dips here when you're getting to the zeros that correlate with big bumps up here. So if it truly is that you're running out of batteries because of the sheer amount of work that's being done compared with the number of batteries, you would expect to see on busy days, you're going to see zeros, and on non-busy days you wouldn't. So that kind of helps there. Now, looking at these summary statistics here, this particular report has the most summary statistics. 0 available picks, these we do not like. We don't want to see these ever. This is a scenario where somebody comes into the battery room, all the batteries are charging, there are no fully charged batteries available, so somebody takes a battery that hasn't finished charging while the charge is going. You're taking a battery that's not fully charged. You're also potentially, if they don't turn the charger off, running the risk of arcing, destroying connectors. It's a safety hazard. Next statistic, 17 days out of 30. In this display here is we're just looking at the 30-day view. 17 of those 30 days, we hit 0 batteries. That's not good at all. This statistic, the battery reserve, is a little bit hard to explain, but essentially what we do is we take that minimum graph, what was the average of that graph over the month, and then we look at it as compared with the number of trucks. And it really works as a useful statistic. If this number here is below 25, generally that pool is having a problem with running out. If it's over 50%, generally that seems to mean that the pool's typically oversized and they have more assets than needed. This is a very useful statistic that a lot of people can easily identify with. How many cycles per battery per week gives you an idea of the overall usage level. And this number 8 here, unused charger capacity, this goes back to what I was saying before. We have 24 chargers. Why don't we ever see 24 fully charged batteries? We only ever see 16. It's kind of like we're missing 8 chargers. We've paid for them, they're in the system, but we're not getting the benefit. Total batteries picked, average picks per day, and then 200 mispicks, 21% of the total. That's a lot. I won't go too much into the notes and issues. We won't cover that too much here, but let's go over to demo site 3 a minute and take a look again at that pallet pool. So just looking at those statistics in comparison. So 0 in this category, good. We had no days where we hit 0. 49.6 our battery reserve, so that's kind of on the high end of the range, but it's in the good range. This is going 2 cycles per battery per week, so that's highlighted because it's very low. So this is a site that's only cycling the batteries 2 cycles per battery per week. Yeah, that might indicate that if they would smooth the usage of the batteries, maybe they could get by with less. And in this case, we have 1 unused charger capacity. So back to this graph, we have 9 chargers, but we only get up to 8. Now, if you're 1 off, the one thing you want to check there is if they do not have a battery changer, they probably need to leave 1 slot empty at all times so that there's a place for the battery coming off the truck to be put on to a charger rack so that then they can pull from something else. So there's a fair number of sites where you will see 1 in this scenario. Now, to get rid of that, if that is indeed the case, you can go to the settings tab and empty slot count. So if there is always going to be 1 empty slot, put a 1 here, and it says you're allowed to have 1 open slot at any time, and that'll take care of that particular highlighting. And besides that, I think that is the major points of what to look for in the availability graph.